And we are back with a new video. In this video is going to be the cherry on top of the cake. So this is part 4 of the NSX-T 2.4 disaster recovery multi-site. And here in this video we are actually going to show you an actual failure and the recovery to the new site. So this is going to be fun. Now let's start. So first of all, this is the diagram before the actual disaster. So we've seen this before in part 1, 2, and I think part 3. We've seen that this VM here, 172.16.10.11, is active in site 1. What happens if site 1 fails? That's after disaster. So basically, site fails. We remove the T1 connection towards the T0. We add that on the second site, connect it to the new T0, and make sure that the VM is also recovered to the site. SRM will take care of that. So let's see. There are actually a lot of steps involved here. So the first step is to make sure that the NSX-T manager is using the fully qualified domain name for component registration and for backups. Note that this is not the case out of the box, and this can only be turned on or off with the REST API call. So let's look at that. How does this look like? So first step, we're at the first step at the moment. Step 1, make sure that the DC1 NSX-T manager is using fully qualified domain name for the component registration and backup. So we do this with a REST API call. And this looks like this. So we need to verify if the FQDN is turned on. Basically, if it's turned on, you will get a true back. When it's turned off, you will get a false back, and you can turn it on by executing the put command and putting true here and make sure and just send it over and turn it on. But let's see for now. So this is Postman. This is with this program you send REST API calls. Let's try to authorize basic authentication. The password is okay already, and let's copy paste this URL, and you can see that my fully qualified domain name is already in there, so I did a pre-preparation already. Let's paste and let's send. See what happens. It says here that the value is true. So this means that we're good, and I already did this before, so I knew that this was going to happen. So that's step 1. So this is step 1. If this was not true, we should set it to true, but I will show that a little bit later when we actually deal with the second NSX manager on site 2, because that one is like a brand new one. So step 2, verification if qualified domain name is used also in the backups. So you see here this thing blinking here, and when we do backup, so let's do a backup right now. Let's log into the NSX manager, and there's one thing that I want to show you up front. Let's try to ping to the actual fully qualified domain name. Ping. And you can see that it's replying with the 110.30 address. So this is my site 1. My site 2 has a 120 prefix. And I can also prove it to you by going to my site 1 here and going to my management cluster and click the NSX manager, and here you can see the 110.30, right? So you know that is going to the correct NSX manager for now. So the DNS is set correctly. we were going to do a backup, so let's continue to do that. So the current time is 21:59, almost 10 o'clock in the evening here. Yeah, let's continue with system, backup and restore. And I already set the backup details already. So if you do edit, you can set it up, or here you can see the backup server, use port 22, it uses the root username. So this is already set up. So I only will, the last backup was the 13th of March. Now today is the 14th of March if you look at the clock here. Let's do the backup now. And here you can see that the status of the backup is successful. The cluster backup is also successful. So you can see that the last backup is done the 14th of March, 10 o'clock p.m., which is perfect. So now let's verify, this was one of the steps here, verify if the backup name, if it has the fully qualified domain name in the directory. So we do that by logging in here. I already logged in with the WinSCP. Oh, here you see the 14th. I think it's an hour behind, so then the backup server probably has a different time, but I'm okay with that. But at least the date is okay. So let me continue and looking at the files, and here you can see the names of the actual fully qualified domain name processed in the backup files. So perfect. So now we can continue with the next step. What is the next step? Next step is verify if your host transport nodes and your edge transport nodes are using the fully qualified domain name to connect to the controller. Now let's see if that's the case. So first of all, we will select one of the hosts. Let me just log into one of the hosts. Let's take this one for example, connect, which is one of my compute hosts, NSX-T, and the command is get controllers. And here you see it's working. So the controller, or this edge node, is connected with the fully qualified domain name. So now let's log into one of the edges. Let's take this one here. And perfect. So I used to have a problem with this because if you deploy an edge VM from the manager, it will not give you an option to put in a DNS name server. So if I do get names servers, you see that there's a name server in there right now. That wasn't the case. So if this is not the case, this will never happen. So we verified that step. So actually we should do this for all hosts, but I believe this is okay. Let's continue to the next step. So the next step is to deploy the NSX-T manager in a new site. Well, I've already done this, so let's just verify this. And you can see that there's a new NSX manager in here. If I click on it, you can see that the IP address is 192.168.120, not 110, but 120. So you can still see here, if I'm pinging over here, I'm resolving currently the 110, and this is the 120, currently not used. Brand new NSX manager. Okay, let's just log into the NSX manager. HTTPS dirty. This is typically something you would see when you're logging into a new NSX manager. So let's understand and accept the terms of the license agreement. So otherwise we can continue. Let's save and let's just get started. As you can see, it's a brand new NSX manager, right? So what's the next step? Next step is to change the DNS setting. So before we're going to do that, so one of the important things is when you change the DNS setting, you want to make sure that the time to live is as short as possible. So I've set this to 5 minutes here, and I think you can verify this by going to my DNS server, go to properties, and look at the time to live here, which is fine. So if we take one step back and let's look at the steps again. We're now at step 6 actually. Step 5, we're now going to simulate a disaster. This is going to be fun. So that means that I'm going to start a stopwatch. First of all, I'm going to start the actual pings. So let's log into the external machine. And with the external machine, I actually mean this machine here. And what we're going to do is we're going to ping from this machine towards this machine here. See if it's reachable, right? Let's open a console window and start a ping 172.16.10.11 -t. There you go. So that works. And now we're going to start a stopwatch. Start. And I'm going to make sure that site 1 is going to be unreachable. So the way how I'm going to do it is I'm just going to enable some firewall rules just to make sure that nothing can go in or out of site 1. I already prepared some rules. So here's the distributed firewall. I prepared 2 rules. I only need to edit the rule to reject, publish, and site 1 is completely down now. So now let's continue with our steps. So the next step is to repoint the, let's just verify that actually. is to repoint the DNS server to the new NSX manager. Make sure that the NSX manager is using the new FQDN. So yeah, so that is the next step that we're going to do. So now remember that we did this FQDN thingy. We also need to do that with the second, with the new NSX manager, because the first one is gone, right? So let's first change the DNS record and change this to 120. Apply that, hit OK, and we should be good now. So let's quickly do a ping, and we can see that it's resolving to the other IP address now. First 110, now 120, right? So now we can do our FQDN thingy, and I'm going to do another send, try to get it, and see that what happens with this true here. Send. It says false, right? So now we need to change this. So let's change this. Let's copy this. Body raw. Let's make this JSON. Very important settings, otherwise it don't work. And change this one to put true and hit send. Now you see it's set to true and the revision is set to 1. So let's do another get. And now it's set to true. So from now on, you should be able to restore the actual backup. Let's try to do that. So let's contact the new NSX manager through the FQDN. Let's log in. Still new. Get started. Let's do a backup and restore. And restore. Edit the settings. I think the IP address is 192.168.99.150. Username root. Password. This one here. The passphrase is VMware that I just put in, or not just, I already did that up front before I actually made the backup. And let's click save. Add. And we can see our backup here. So you can see two backups here. I'm going to take the latest one, so the one of 14 March 10 o'clock. Time still ticking. 6 minutes on the way. And let me look at my external machine. Still nothing, right? So let's continue and restore the backup. Restore. And read this. When the restoration from automatic backup disabled, the system goes in read-only mode. In addition, you may get temporarily lose your connection. If presented with a dialog box to log out or retry, click retry to connect to the UI. If you log out, you can log in again and revisit to restore. So basically just hit retry. So continue. There you go. and we wait. So this took a while. The restore has finished successfully. Let's close this. And when we go to, for example, system, fabric, we should see the nodes. There you go. So compute, it says configured. Host is disconnected. Let's see how we can fix this. For the DC2, compute, configure success. Oh, the DC1, obviously these hosts are disconnected, so these are gone because the site is down. And well, for the DC2, you can see configure success. And let me check the edge transport nodes. Well, the first two are not available. These two are success. So let's see what the next step is. So restore backup, this can take around 20 minutes. Well, it took a little longer, but let's verify if the FQDN now is used. So we need the same step as we did in step 3. So let's log in. Let's see if we're still logged in. Good old Windows. And let's do what we were planning to do. Let's go to the second DC resource host, one of them, 6 CLI. Get controllers. Here we can see it's connected, and we're using the FQDN here, which is perfect. So let's log into one of the edge nodes of DC2. Get controllers. Here we can see it's connected as well, and it's up, and it's using the fully qualified domain name. So that's a good step. Let me see what the next step is. Now the next step is to run SRM, the recovery plan, on the second data center. Well, we can first of all, let me see. Yeah, so let's run the SRM. And let's verify if we can still not ping. That's normal. Let's execute the SRM. Open site recovery. And go to recovery plan. And let's run this recovery plan. the disaster recovery that we're doing. Next, finish. Let's wait until this finishes, and then we're going to go over and move the tier 1 gateway to the other cluster, to the DC2 edge node cluster, and then we're going to move the uplink. And then we're going to see if the ping is working again. But first of all, let's finish this one first. This is all exciting. There you go, the VMs are booted. So now let us change the other things that we need to change. Where is the NSX manager? So let's go to the tier 1 gateway, and we need to have the DC1 tier 1. And as you currently can see, it's on the edge cluster DC1 here. So we need to change that. And disconnect it here as well. Edge firewall is enabled on this logical router. So let's just disable it. Edge firewall, disable, yes. Edit, there you go, DC2, preemptive, cluster member, let's take the first one, hit save, there you go, let's hit connect. I want to connect it to the DC2, connect, and this should come up. I'm able to ping my gateway. So let me see if I'm able to ping the external machine. I'm able to ping the external machine. So why isn't the external machine not able to ping back? There you go. There it is. So it's back. Phew. Okay. Let me think. What's next? A trace route would be cool. Let's do a trace route 192.168.99.100. And if I'm correct, the first DC is totally gone, so it should take the second one. If we go back to the diagram, then it should take the path with 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 in it. Let's see if it does that. And it does. Wow. So that means that we successfully recovered our VM. And that all within 51 minutes. Wow. Let's hit stop here. Let's say some things could be done a little bit faster, but let's say 45 minutes would be your RTO here. And this concludes the end of this video and the end of this video series. Phew, it worked. I'm relieved that that worked. So thank you for watching, and until next time. If you have any questions, by the way, send me an email or contact me on Twitter, contact me on LinkedIn. Just leave something in the comments box below. Thank you very much.